Hi everyone, I'm going to walk you through using some of the resources that you're likely to need to complete the litigation strategy project proposals for the Supreme Court class. Some of these are free online resources and others are only available through your UNT library resources page. So all you need to know to get started is the name of the case that you want to use for your project and then the link to the project proposal form. So I'm going to use Roe versus Wade as my example as I walk through how to complete this form. So the first page is just information about you. It's helpful if you can type your name correctly. Let me know whether you're going to work by yourself and if you're working with someone, who that will be. Then you move on to the next page, which will ask you questions about your case specifically, the name of the case, when it was decided, what the rule is, who participated in the case, and then how the membership of the Supreme Court has changed since the announcement of your decision. I think the easiest place to find the information on this page is oyez.org, which is a free website, and the address is oyez.org. You can go here and search for Supreme Court cases by name. So I'm going to search for Roe versus Wade. And then I get a number of responses that are close to that. So make sure you pick the one that you actually care about. You can click on it, and then the page will give you links to the oral argument in the case, links to the opinions, information about the litigants, information about the advocates over here, and then a summary of the conflict that led to the case, the question decided by the court, and the court's opinion. And then I can use this page to get all the information that I need from here. So the name of my case is Roe v. Wade. Was decided in 1973. In this case, the court said the constitutional right to privacy protects the right of a woman to terminate a pregnancy by abortion during the first trimester. The state's interest in regulating abortion increases as a pregnancy progresses. So see what I did there? I wrote it in my own words rather than just copying and pasting from the summary. I expect you to do the same thing. Next, you need to list the justices that are in the majority. So Oyez has this very handy feature where it gives you the lineup of the justices, and those that are not in shadow are the ones that are in the majority. So the justices in the majority here are Burger, Douglas, Brennan, Stewart, Marshall, Blackmun, and Powell. Make sure I got them all. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. The justices in the minority are White and Rehnquist. If I look at the lineup of the court and compare it to who I know is on the court now, I know that none of the justices that were on the majority in this case are still on the court, so I can pick none here. I know that none of the justices that were in the minority on the case are still on the court, so I can pick none here. But obviously, if I had chosen a more recent case, then there may be members on the court that participated in the original decision, and you'll likely want to pay particular attention to them in the course of this project if they exist for your case. So having answered all of this background information about the case, I can move on to the next page. The next thing that you're going to do, and this is the last page, by the way, is to look up your case on Nexus Uni, which is an online legal research site, to find out the general lay of the land and how your case has been treated by courts since it was announced. So this is a site that does have restricted access, so you'll have to access it through the UNT library page. So to do that, go to the library's website, go to databases, and then you can find it in this alphabetical list. We're looking for Nexus Uni. Here it is. Hit go. If you're off campus, you'll be asked to log in using your EU ID and password. This is what the front search page looks like. So we want to look for our case by citation, so we're going to use the advanced search feature. You can search for cases by name, but it's much more accurate to search by citation, so I recommend searching by citation if you can. So if you jump back to the Oyez site, the citation is right here. So it's 410 US 113. So I can enter the citation right here and hit search. By default, Nexus searches everything that it has, and its default news search is news. So you'll see that at first glance it looks like it didn't find anything because it says no documents found in news, but I don't want news, I want cases. So if I click over here, I see there's one case that has that citation, and there it is. So the first thing that you should note is that you found the correct case, that there's a match to your citation, that the name is as you expect. The next thing you're going to look at is the Shepard's signal and the citing decisions for the case. So Shepard's is a service offered by Nexus Uni that just summarizes how other courts have cited the case you're looking at. So we're interested in how the Supreme Court has cited Roe since it was decided, and in how lower courts have cited Roe since it was decided. Each case gets an indicator, and the menu of Shepard's indicators or signals are over here. I made a copy of them in the form. And so you want to know what this indicator or signal is for your case. And so we see that Roe has a warning signal, which means that negative treatment is indicated. So overruling is one type of negative treatment, but it's not the only negative treatment. So it's possible that you'll look up a case, you'll see that it has a warning treatment, and it can still be perfectly fine for this assignment. If your case has a warning treatment, you will need to check and make sure that it hasn't been overruled by the court already. But a lot of times you'll have cases that have warning treatments because they have perhaps been overruled in part. And so as long as the part of the decision that you don't like hasn't been overturned, it's still perfectly fine for you to choose it for the case. So the first thing you are asked to do is indicate what the Shepard signal for your case is. And so here I've already mentioned, this is going to be the signal that's right next to the case name. So my case is a warning. Next, we want to get a summary of the number of citing decisions for the case. And so to get that, you're just going to click on the case name. And then the summary is all over here. This is all you need. This little Shepard's box tells you how many subsequent cases have cited the case. So over 4,000 cases have cited Roe since it was announced in 1973. And then it also breaks down those citations to say which ones are classified as warning, which are questioning treatments, which are cautionary, which are positive, and then which are neutral. So I'm just going to go and fill in these answers based on the information in this table here. So the total number of citing decisions is 4,199. The number of warning citations is 1, it's the number in the parentheses. The number of question citations is 11. Caution citations, 160. And there are 241 positive citations. So that gets me kind of a general overview of how much action this case has seen since it was announced. So the last question on the form says, if your case's signal is warning, did you verify that it hasn't been overruled by the Supreme Court? So if you have picked a case that has a signal other than a warning signal, you can just say my case's signal is not warning and move on to submit the form. But if your case has a warning signal, you do need to check that the part of the case that you want to focus on hasn't already been overruled. And so the way that you do that is review the warning citations. So to do that, just go back to the Shepard's menu and click the warning link. And this will pull up the treatments that Nexus has coded as potentially negative. And so we see that this one warning treatment is from Planned Parenthood versus Casey, where the Supreme Court's earlier decision in Roe versus Wade was overruled in part. And then this little blurb here will explain what the relevant part is. what actually happens in Planned Parenthood versus Casey is that the Supreme Court does away with the trimester framework that the Supreme Court had announced in Roe, but it doesn't overrule the core holding that the Constitution's right to privacy protects the right to terminate a pregnancy. And so for this case, if you're doing Roe versus Wade, you'd say, I checked the warning citations for my case, and the decision hasn't been overruled by the Supreme Court. At least it hasn't been overruled completely. And then you submit it, and then you're done. Let me show you briefly what it will look like if a case has been overruled in its entirety by the Supreme Court. So I'm going to go back to the beginning, search for a new case. The case I'm looking for now is Bowers versus Hardwick. Again, it just searched for news by default. You can change that if you want. So again, now we have another case here. Again, the signal is a warning signal. If I click on the case link, then I'll get that summary of treatments. Again, there's one warning treatment. If I click on it, it indicates that Bowers v. Hardwick was overruled by Lawrence v. Texas. So this is not a good case for this project because the case has been overruled in its entirety by a subsequent case. So if you get that far and you find that the case that you want to get the court to overrule has already been overruled by the Supreme Court, you should start over and find another one. So I think that should be all the information that you need to complete the project proposal. I will give out cases on a first come, first served basis. So if you feel strongly about getting a particular case, I urge you to get it submitted quickly. Thanks very much.